Hi, I'm Barney. I lead the exposure management pillar within the Checkpoint portfolio for the UK, Ireland and Northern Europe. So customers are facing a range of challenges currently in reference to the cybersecurity landscape. What we've seen over recent years, through the best sentiment, actually organisations are investing in world-class security tools and products. And that's actually led to probably more visibility, alerts, intelligence, information around where they're exposed from a cyber perspective, more than we ever have done in the past. That's actually created a real challenge for organisations because they're becoming overwhelmed with information and intelligence. There's a lot of noise. They don't know which of those alerts or pieces of intelligence are most relevant to them, most risky to them, or could cause them the most harm. So what we're trying to help organisations with is reduce that noise and focus on risks that really matter. Checkpoint exposure management focuses on three key areas. The first is providing world-class threat intelligence to our customers. And threat intelligence comes in three guises. Strategic intelligence, that allows organisations to understand what's relevant to their sector or their geography, who's targeting their competitors, who's targeting similar organisations to them. The second is around tactical intelligence. What IOCs, what indicators do we need to proactively block based on the real-world threat intelligence and telemetry that we see in the wild? And then targeted threat intelligence. That relates to risks that are very specific to our customers' infrastructure, their attack surface. Where are they being impersonated? Are there leaked credentials? Is there data being sold on the dark web? Are there vulnerabilities in their externally facing assets, for example? So we start with threat intelligence. That then allows us to help customers prioritise the risks and the vulnerabilities that they face, deduplicating the noise, reducing the noise so they can form a targeted and prioritised remediation plan. And then the third and final provision within exposure management is allowing safe remediation across over 80 different vendors. So whether you use Checkpoint or any other firewall or technology vendor, we can actually remediate through a single pane of glass, enabling organisations to remediate hundreds of vulnerabilities a month in comparison to the industry standard, which is a handful a month. So a free external risk assessment enables us to give you a view of your organisation through the lens of the adversaries, through the lens of the hackers. Most breaches actually originate from outside of the network. So by engaging with Checkpoint on an external risk assessment, we can help you identify specific areas of cyber exposure and cyber risk through no integration or installation. For example, what credentials do we see are exposed in the wild? Are you being impersonated? Which of your suppliers are at most risk from a breach? And that helps bring to life some of the real-world examples that your company may face from a threat and a cyber exposure perspective. Now we're going to do a brief walkthrough of the three areas that I referenced earlier. So we'll start by looking at threat intelligence and looking at an organisation through the lens of a hacker. What we see now in this demo environment is all of the assets and infrastructure that belong to the organisation. We've detected the top-level domains, the subdomains, the external IPs, and the cloud storage environments that the organisation is using. Then what we do is cross-reference these assets with areas of external risk. And where we see a risk related to a company asset is where we provision an alert to our customers. So in this case, we've detected an exploitable vulnerability. So in this example, we have a company IP address, as you see, that's hosting open SSH technology, and it is vulnerable to this CVE, and we've proven that it is indeed, in fact, exploitable through an automated pen test. So this enables our customers to A, understand their external attack surface, provide that visibility, and B, now provide that targeted intelligence and that validated intelligence that identifies specifically where they are at risk. and naturally the customer would want to prioritise this alert and this vulnerability. So we've identified the external attack surface of the organisation, we've identified a very specific asset that is vulnerable to a CVE and proven to be exploitable from the outside in, but that information is useless without acting on the data and actually remediating. So through a single pane of glass, the customer is able to understand, are there any compensating controls available across my existing security stack that can protect the vulnerable assets against the vulnerability that's been identified? And as we see in this example here, this is a checkpoint gateway that is currently misconfigured and therefore not protecting the vulnerable host behind the gateway against that CVE. We can see that the protection is in inactive mode. So the remediation here is to change that to detect. That enables the customer, through a single pane of glass, through one click, to remediate and reduce the risk. It's really easy to get started. So our free external risk assessment requires simply sharing your company domain. From that piece of information, we are able to run that external scan and present the findings back to you. Working with Insight and AWS enables us to broaden and provide a holistic view of not only the risks that the organisation face, but the potential knock-on impact of those risks, other projects, other strategies, other priorities that may come about through the initial assessment. Checkpoint Exposure Management is hosted on AWS, so with a POV activity, for example, you may also be able to claim back AWS credits. And through working with our partner Insight, of course, they can support you with those supplementary projects that may evolve from the initial assessment.